Hello friends, in this video I will share with you saving and investment advice for those who are in their 20s so they are able to live their rich life and reach financial freedom sooner than later. So the number one and most critical advice is to start early. It is starting early which will allow you to reach your financial freedom as soon as possible. As a young adult, the biggest asset that you have on your hand is time, because you have more runway to save and invest and compound your money. Now let me explain using Excel as to what do I mean. I will give an example where, let's say, you allow yourself to save $500 every month. So if you start doing it, let's say at the age of 23, I assume you start working at the age of 23 and you can save $500 every month at the age of 23. And if you save that money year in, year out, only $500, not increasing it at all, just keeping the same investment or saving rate, which is $500 in absolute, till the time you reach 60, we will see how much money do you make and how much money do you generate and save at the age of 60. However, if you start late, that is, not make use of the time you have on your hand, which is in your 20s, rather instead of starting at age 23, you decide, you know what, I'll start at the age of 30, because you will hear this advice coming out on the web or from your friends or other members of your association that in early years you should not be saving, you should just be enjoying your life because your income is already so less. So what's the point of saving? You rather should start saving once your income is high, and once your income is sufficiently high, only then it is reasonable for you to take out some chunk of that money into saving. But given you are in your 20s, you just started earning your income levels are low, there is no point in saving and investing. Rather, this low amount of savings that you would be doing, you're better off just using it or enjoying life. However, that advice, my friend, is wrong, because I will explain to you on Excel how the power of making use of that time, which is when you are 23 years of age, is far more beneficial than allowing yourself to wait till 30 and only then starting to save. So as I said, we will use only $500 as an example to explain how the power of age or power of time is so crucial. Let's check it out. So let me quickly build an Excel model where we start investing at the age of 23, monthly, annual, and we assume that the investment return that we can generate is 10%. This is the investment return that S&P 500 has been generating in past 60 to 80 years. Let's also assume there is inflation rate of 2%. I know the inflation these days are in high single digits, but I'm just looking at historical inflation rate, which has been somewhere around the range of 2 to 3%. I'll use 2% here. Cumulative, let's call it net cumulative, is 8%. So when we invest our savings, we can generate a return of 8%. We agree that we will be saving $500 per month, which is $6,000 annually. And when compounded, that is when you invest that money in the stock market, let's say, you can generate a net return of 8% after inflation. So at the end of the year, your money would be worth $6,480. Let's keep growing our age and continue to invest. So at age 24, you will again be saving $500 per month, which will be annual $6,000. At the end of age 24, which is second year of your saving and investment journey, you will have $6,480 coming from last year, plus you'll save $6,000. When we compound it at the rate of 8%, we'll have $13,478 with us. Now let's extrapolate this. So by the time you reach age 35, you will have $139,000 with you. Okay, which is decent, not bad, but nothing great. Now let's extrapolate this to age 60. So at age 60, you will have $1.4 million saved. That is only by saving and investing $500 per month. Now let's say you follow your friend's advice who says, hey, you don't need to save the money in your 20s at all. Rather, in your 20s you can enjoy and you can start saving once you reach age 30. Okay, let's do that. So we don't save any money here. We will almost have halved our money, which is $800,000, which is 45% less than what we could have made by saving early. So for us to make up for the gap, because we didn't start early, we need to save more now. Let's assume our target is to reach $1.5 million at the age of 60, then we can't achieve that target by starting to save at the age of 30, only $500 per month. So we need to increase our saving rate if we decide that we want to save later and not earlier. So let's see how much do we need to take our saving rates up by. So let's start with a number, let's say $600. Nope, didn't work. $700 did not work. $800, close. $900, there we are. So we will have to save $900 per month in order to reach the same target that we could have reached by saving only $500 if we had started early. Now, this is not about 500 or 900 or any absolute number. Rather, you need to understand that you kind of almost have to save double the amount if you start at the age of 30 versus starting early. So you can start early and save less versus starting late and then trying to save more. So as I said, this is not about the amount itself. This is about the practice of saving early and taking advantage of time. And this is, as I said, time is your asset. Time is the asset you have when you're in your 20s. When you're in your 30s, you've lost that 10 to 7 years altogether, and now you're starting late. When you're starting late, you need to add more fuel in order for you to reach the same goal. Your second most important job in your 20s is to avoid debt. All kinds of debt. Especially be very careful when you go for educational debt, which is student loans. Make sure that you are very cautious. You've read about it, you understand, you've checked with your mentors. The degree or the discipline that you're pursuing is the one you will stick with, and it also can give you good returns once you graduate. So you don't want to go and take debt for a student loan on a degree which is massive debt but doesn't pay out well once you go in the job market. So I won't say don't take any student debt at all. There might be an instance, for instance, you are so good with your medicine, biology, you want to be a doctor. Obviously, the education for becoming a doctor is very expensive. You're passionate about it. You've aced all grades in your school. It kind of makes sense that this is your passion. This is where you want to go. Taking out debt in that case might be good just because you know that the returns would be very high. However, make sure that you consult the right people, understand the numbers, understand the data, and only then try to take that risk. Other than that, avoid taking any kind of debt. Second one, which is most important, is credit card. For instance, when I started working, I was 23 years of age. I started getting this monthly paycheck, which was wow for me. And then all the banks started to come with their promotions, get this credit card, these many points, these are the benefits, and so on and so forth. So I started to apply for these credit cards only to realize that I can spend ahead of my income. And this is what I started to do in the initial months, only for me to realize, and someone told me and I was mentored, that this is wrong way of being financially free. Because if you start spending ahead of your income, you will never be able to save anything because you will always be in a catch-up mode. Now, this may not be huge when you are in your 20s because you might be spending a few $100s ahead of your income. But remember, this all catches up. One, it will become a behavior. And second, the number that is small today will compound and become bigger. The reason it will become bigger is just as I told you, how you invest money earlier and becomes bigger. If you spend ahead of your income, you are in debt. When you're in debt, you are paying interest. When you're paying interest, you always are in catch-up mode because every income that you make, you're not just paying the principal, but you're also paying for the interest. And hence it is costing you more and more. So your job in 20s is to stay clean of any debt. And especially because you might not be looking into owning a house in your 20s, which is something that you would want to eventually own when you're in your 30s. That means there is no logical sense for you to take any debt. For that matter, even when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you should not be taking any debt at all except for the mortgage, because that one is kind of huge buy that you make and it's kind of important. Other than that, you should avoid all debt, and especially and more so when you're in your 20s, because the numbers may seem small, but they will kill you if you start in debt earlier in your life. Then it will be very difficult for you to get out of that debt ever. Number 3, which I talk a lot in my videos, is that you cannot improve anything that you cannot track and measure. Hence, it is very important for you to track your expenses. But for that, a prerequisite is to have a budget. So always start with the budget. Let's say you earn $100 per month. Your budget should be lower than that. Of course, it should be somewhere around 70 and 80 because you want to save the rest. And with that budget of 70, you need to break it into different heads. Let's say grocery, entertainment, shopping, etc., etc. Break it into those heads. I have a separate video made on how you should go about budgeting. You can check out that video here on the link. But once you've created that budget, you measure your expenses on monthly basis against that budget and see how you're tracking. Ideally, you should be tracking at budget or below budget. There might be a month where you go up, there might be a month where you go down, but on longer term basis, like on 3 to 6 months basis, you should always track under the budget or at the budget. Once you start tracking your expenses, it is only then for you to know where you're spending more, where you're spending less, and where you can cut more, where you can spend more for that matter if that brings you more joy, but how you can ensure that you continue to save money every month. Because if you're not tracking, you may not have any idea, or you may not be clear as to whether how much money you are able to save every month, because you are just going and spending on chance. So make sure you track your expenses against a budget. Now, number 4, considering you've started working early as well, your employer must be giving you some kind of retirement plan. Make use of that retirement plan as early as possible. It may sound to you bizarre when you are in your 20s thinking about retirement. However, as I talked earlier and in the first suggestion that I made, the earlier you start saving and investing in for retirement, the bigger the pot will be. So once you're offered by your company plans like 401k in US for that matter, make use of those plans, because this is kind of free money that comes your way. Usually how it works is you are required to contribute some money in your retirement plan, let's say 3%, and then company matches certain amount basis your contribution. Mostly it is match to match. So if you contribute 3%, they will contribute 3% as well, up to a certain limit. This extra money that is coming from the company is free money. If you don't contribute, this free money won't come at all. And this money is very important, and even more so important because you need to start early. You need to start saving early, investing early, so you can make the pot bigger, faster, and make the pot bigger by using the time that you have on hand. Now, so far I've talked a lot about saving, but there might be a question as to how much is a reasonable amount for any individual to save. Here the rule of thumb is 20%. The rule which is mostly used is called 20-30-50 rule, where 20% of your income should go into your saving, 30% of your income should go into your wants, like I want to entertain myself, I want to go watch a movie, I want to buy something which is luxury, and so on and so forth. And 50% of your spending should go into your needs. This could be grocery, your rent, things which are very important for you, things which are essential. 30% is our wants, which is something that you want but not essential, and 20% is what you need to save. Now here it is also very important, and it would be ideal if you can automate these savings. Like, don't let your income come in your account first and then you take out 20% from that account. If you do so, it would be challenging every time you have to take that 20% out. How I did it when I was in my 20s, I would not allow that money to come into my account at all. I would just get it deducted or directly invested the day it will touch my account, or even if it's possible before it touches your account, you can take off that 20% and put it in an investing account. This way you don't even see the money, you don't even feel the money or smell the money. You only see, smell, and spend what comes in your account, and that can be simply split between the needs and the wants, and you can go ahead and spend everything there. But that 20% continues to get saved automatically. So you don't really need to think about it or struggle or make an effort to save that money. It just gets cut directly, and for you what you get as a disposable income is after that 20% has been saved and invested. Now another tip, every time you get an increment, if it's like a 2-3% inflationary increment, I don't recommend you save it, because that money you need in order to catch up with the inflation that has come up. Your rent might be going up, your groceries going up. I would just say don't worry about it, keep saving 20% of your income. However, Whenever you get a huge increment, and this usually comes with a promotion or when you change your job and take a higher level job, that increment you should try to save as much as possible. My recommended guideline is 50% of that increment needs to go in your saving, and the balance 50% you can use to scale up your life or inflate your life a bit just to have some fun as well. Now, once you start moving that 50% of your increment into your savings, your net saving bucket will start moving up from 20% to a higher percentage. So make sure that you're not stuck with that 20% number. Rather, as and every time you get some increment, use half of that increment to inflate your lifestyle, and the balance half just put it into saving, and let that 20% split of your income, which was going into saving, keep growing and growing and growing. It is important for it to grow so you can reach your financial goals as soon as possible. Now, the next advice is with regards to windfalls. The most common windfall is bonus. Whenever you get a bonus, you can spend like 1 to 2% of that bonus on a nice dinner or some nice activity the day you get it. But other than that, just forget about it. Take that bonus again and put it into your saving. Again, the idea here is to make sure you can increase your saving pot as early as possible, because once you increase your saving pot, you allow that saving pot to get invested, compounded, and grow faster, bigger, earlier, so you can reach that financial goal earlier than later. Now, I have talked a lot about investing. When it comes to investing advice, it is very simple. Make sure you invest in a low-cost, diversified index fund. Here, 3 words in what I just said are very important. Low-cost, diversified index. Let's start with index, which kind of in itself is very diversified. Index funds, I will talk more about it in a separate video, but for now, it is an index or an amalgamation or an average of various stocks that are in that index. The most common index fund, or at least the index fund that I find most common and I use, is an index fund which tracks S&P 500. So S&P 500 have 500 companies in it, and the index that I track is an amalgamation or weighted average of those 500 companies. So it tracks S&P. So when S&P is going up, the index goes up. When S&P is going down, the index is going down. The reason it is diversified is because it has 500 companies. So for instance, if a particular company shoots down or crashes, your index won't crash by the same amount. Rather, it can, or it may still be growing because other companies in that 500 index pool are still growing. So if one company falls off or crashes or their stock has lost value, your index may still be growing. And if you look historically, the S&P index has been growing at a rate of 10% return, which is pretty massive and pretty good. And this is the return that we use in our calculation as well. So make sure you're diversified. And when I mean diversified, I want to clarify this part, which is don't pick stocks. Unless this is your day and night job whereby you read a particular company, you follow their management, you maybe even talk to their management, you read all their annual reports, you dissect all their annual reports, and you understand the industry through and through. If that is not the case, don't pick stocks at all. Rather, just go and spend in a diversified index. Now, this was the diversified index part of the statement. The first one or the other one is low cost. Make sure the investment that you make or any index that you invest in is low cost. The costs at times are as high as 1 to 2%, and they will eat up from your profits. So let's say if you are making 10% return and you are paying 1% to the mutual fund manager or 1% to the index fund owner, you will essentially be making 9% return and not the full 10%, which over a long period of time will eat up from the pot that you want to save. Make sure that your cost is very low. My recommended range is somewhere from 0.05% to 0.1%. Don't try to exceed that. There might be an instance where you want to go slightly higher, but make sure it remains in small decimals and not higher. Last but not the least, consider working on a side hustle. I know when you start working, you love that paycheck and you feel like, wow, this is so good, and I just want to start living my life. I want to buy a house, get a car, get married, have kids, and this is how I will be living my life, which is day in, day out, working 9 to 5 and making money and growing my income. It may seem good just because you're coming from no income at all when you were in university, and suddenly you start getting some income, you start feeling good about it, and it is a drug which just keeps you addicted to the corporate world. On the side, you have time on your hand. You're not married, you don't have kids. Start working on some side hustle. And this could be writing a blog. This could be as simple as making YouTube videos like I'm doing. This could be as simple as starting a side e-commerce business. Or it could be any other thing that you can start on the side. Now, it doesn't have to be very big. It can be very small. But the idea here is for you to build that side business or side setup, which you can eventually grow and evolve into. So for instance, this YouTube can be one example. Let's say you are 23 years of age, you start YouTubing, you make one video, let's say per month, then you start increasing the frequency, you start making one video per week, then maybe 2 videos per week as you start to get more comfortable with the camera, with the video and all, and suddenly you start making some money on Google AdSense. And maybe you start getting some sponsors over a period of time. Now, it doesn't have to be on day one. It can take like 5-10 years, but it's fine, right? You have your day job, you're spending like 1-2 hours, let's say every week on making a YouTube video, just publishing it, and that's it. However, by the time you reach in your 30s, 40s, let's say I am 38 years now, if I had started this YouTube channel at the age of 24, by the way, YouTube wasn't there at that time, but let's say even if I started this YouTube channel when I was 30 years of age, 8 years ago, by now this would be a big venture for me, and I would not have to rely on my day job income for my financial freedom. Rather, I would already be financially free because I know the side hustle which I was doing in small scale over a period of time, day in, day out, very slowly, not taking a lot of time, will eventually compound to become something very big and something that I can retire into. And when I say retirement, I don't mean being at the age 60. Rather, as I said, if I had started this at the age of 30, by age 38, this would be making me sufficient income for me to say, okay, do I still need my day job or not? Or maybe I do, maybe I enjoy my day job and I continue doing it. But at least I know I won't be doing my day job for the sake of feeding my family and running my expenses or paying my bills, because I know all of that can be done through the side hustle that I'm doing. Plus, another important part of such side hustles is that it helps you learn and grow in things, in areas which your company won't let you or offer you or provide you the avenues. So for instance, when I started my e-commerce business, I'm in finance. So I do finance, financial management in the corporate sector. I don't run any e-commerce ad. I don't do Google Analytics. I don't run Amazon search. However, when I started my own e-commerce business, for which I will also talk about in a separate video and will leave the link above, when I started doing that, it was only then when I started to enjoy, understand the world of e-commerce, and hence was able to nurture and grow my e-commerce business, which ended up being a hobby more than just something that I have to do to earn money. Rather, it became more of an hobby. Similarly, this YouTube as well. Initially, it was all about trying to get a side hustle up and running, but I've done it for 2 years now. I get these followers, I talk to them, I connect with them, and I've started to enjoy this. So every time I make this video, I'm looking forward to that connection. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this video was helpful for you to now realize how important it is for you to start early, save, invest, and create that side hustle.